Yet very interesting presentation and wonderful quotation from Revered Swami Ranganathanji Maharaj. We now begin our third academic session. The topic for this session is Swamiji's concept of the divinity in man. We have three eminent speakers in this session. The first of them is Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya. Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya is Associate Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering in Jadavpur University, Kolkata. He did his bachelor's and master's degrees from Jadavpur University, securing a gold medal in master's, and worked as a scientist in DRDL, Defense Research and Development Laboratory under DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization in Hyderabad, under none other than the celebrated Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He is known in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda circle as a writer and a lecturer. He frequently appears in television, radio and other social media for talks on the Ramakrishna movement. May we request him to please come up on the stage. We also have Dr. Om Prakash Verma. He is a PhD in psychology and the founder secretary of Vivekananda Vidyapith, Raipur. He also worked as Swami Vivekananda Chair Professor established by UGC in Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, where he previously worked as rector and professor and head of a school of regional studies and research. He also served as chairman, Chhattisgarh Private Universities Regulatory Commission, Raipur. Professor Verma has got published more than 40 research papers to his credit in different national and international journals. He has successfully guided 23 PhD or D.Litt scholars. He has chaired many national seminars, conferences. He has organized many national seminars and spiritual retreats. He is an impressive orator and visits different parts of the country on invitation of the different institutions to deliver lectures on the subjects related to religion, philosophy and education. May we also request Dr. Om Prakash Verma to please come up on the stage. We also have Revered Swami Bodhamayanandaji Maharaj, Adhyaksha Ramakrishna Mech, Hyderabad. Maharaj will be here in a short while. His topic is the Atman, our divine core and the source of strength. Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya will speak on the real and apparent man. Dr. Om Prakash Verma will be speaking on spiritualizing everyday life. The entire session will be chaired by Swami Hari Brahmendrananda Tirthuji Maharaj, Acharya and Secretary of Adi Shankara Brahma Vidyapitham, Uttar Kashi. May we request Swamiji to humbly chair the session. It's over to Swamiji for conducting the entire proceedings of this session before the tea break. We have three other speakers as paper presenters. We'll try to accommodate them during the tea break or after the third academic session.
Sahana vavatu sahano bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvina vadhetamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome to all for this third academic session. The subject is Swamiji's concept of the divinity in man. Our Upanishad says Jivena Atmana Anupravishya Nama Rupe Vyakaravani Tat Srishtva Tadeva Anupravishat Mamaiva Amsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutas Sanatana. It says, the Creator, the all-pervading consciousness, Brahman, created this world and these bodies and entered himself. Tasrishtva tadeva anupravishat. So here, the creator and the created is not different. To show that, Upanishad says, he himself entered in this body. This is the concept of divinity in our Vedantic tradition. So we will have elaborately on this subject. So I invite Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya ji, Associate Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, to speak on the real and the apparent man. So he will be speaking on this subject. Thank you.
I see.
Om Namah Shri Athirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Revered Hari Brahmendranandaji Tirthaji, who is chairing this session, respected Dr. Om Prakash Verma ji, I hope Swami Bodhamayanandaji will be here shortly, all the respected Sannyasi Maharajas and the distinguished members of the audience. In the morning and in the two pre-lunch sessions, I believe that deliberations were there in English as well as in Bangla and Hindi. For my part, I would like to go in English primarily and a little bit of Bangla, so an admixture that way. The subject is, as you have heard, the real and the apparent man. And this has been taken directly. Actually, there is a lecture of Swami Vivekananda, which was delivered in the Vedanta Society of New York, bearing the same title. And I was asked to discuss on that particular lecture. ওই লেকচারটা ছিল 65 মিনিট মতো, একটা রাফ এস্টিমেটে, এবং ওটাকে প্রায় 20% জায়গাতে নিয়ে আসতে হয়েছে এখানে যে টাইম কনস্ট্রেন্টটা আছে, যে টাইম লিমিটটা আছে. So to limit ourselves within that specific period, we had to reduce it. Reduce it means, as you can understand and imagine, it's very difficult to summarize what Swami Vivekananda has said, because he has been so very explicit and to the point all through, but still we have tried. That is point number one. Point number two is that in this lecture entitled The Real and the Apparent Man, we find almost all the major philosophical and life-building ideas of Swami Vivekananda, almost all. And that is why, again, it's very difficult to, quote-unquote, edit that for lecture purpose. But I hope that we have not missed the essential points, and you will be happy to know, many of you might have read, if not all, that this lecture is very much related to the key theme of this seminar, like Swamiji's concept of the divinity in man and Swamiji's thoughts on practical Vedanta and scientific approach to religion. As you can see on the screen, the second highlight, where we have Swamiji's point of view. Now, in social media, POV is very popular these days. So Swamiji's point of view, what he says that he will be covering the psychological, philosophical and scientific aspects of the subject, and he has done that. Coming to the first highlight, the basic questions that were raised in India. And another point, another thing by way of introductory remark I forgot to tell you is that whatever we will be going through, many cases you will find that, oh, this is coming from that Upanishads. But we have restricted ourselves to Swamiji's lectures only, and maybe I will not be referring to the Upanishadic texts or the mantras, 7 except 1 or 2 places. We will go along with Swamiji to keep in mind or to have a feel of the ambience and the way he was putting forth these ideas marvelously before a Western audience, and all the same that will be very instructive and beneficial to us, no doubt about that. The basic questions, Swamiji says, that have been raised in India. Number 1, where does man go after death? And then, what is that by knowing which everything else is to be known? As I told you, that you might be reminded, and rightly so, of Mundaka Upanishad, but we are not going to the mantra. What Swamiji says is that what is that by knowing which everything else is to be known? So that is where we stand. The basic question of unity. And one single thing, tell me one single thing by which everything else is known. The theme of this seminar is, or this lecture is, the real and the apparent man. Now, real man, if we take the liberty and digress a bit, remaining within the context very much, the real man in Bangla, what will it be? Ashol lok. Sri Ramakrishna says, Je samannoy koreche shei lok. And in the gospel it has been translated as he is the real man. So that is a very, striking, that real man, as per Sri Ramakrishna, is the one who has harmonized, and that is what essentially Swamiji is doing here. Hindu philosophy he is talking about. So the second highlight, if you see Swamiji's point of view, there the second bullet, we have said Advaita and all that. Swamiji কথা বলছেন, স্বামীজি যে সৃষ্টি তত্ত্ব আমাদের দেশে কিরকম ভাবে এসেছে, আমাদের ইস্টার্ন প্রাচ্য দর্শনে কিভাবে এসেছে, এবং সেখানে বলতে বলতে উনি দ্বৈতভাবে ডুয়ালিজমের কথা বলছেন, বৌদ্ধ ধর্মের কথা বলছেন, বুদ্ধিজম, এবং তারপরে নন ডুয়ালিজম বা অদ্বৈতের কথা বলছেন। সেই জন্য স্ট্রেস আসছে কোথায়? অদ্বৈত, জীবনমুক্ত, মরালিটি এবং ফিউচার অফ দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড। আমি একটু তাড়াতাড়ি করে এগুলোর মধ্যে দিয়ে যাবো প্রথম দিকটা, তার কারণ হচ্ছে অদ্বৈতের জায়গাতে এসে স্বামীজি একেবারে পুরোপুরি এনলাইটেন করছেন, যেন মনে হয় উইথ ফুল গ্লোরি হি ইজ ম্যানিফেস্টিং হিমসেলফ with the full inner glory, সেই জায়গাটাতে খুব তাড়াতাড়ি পৌঁছবার চেষ্টা করব, without doing injustice to the introductory areas. হিন্দু ফিলসফি, স্বামীজি বলছেন যে হিন্দু ফিলসফিতে বলা হয় আকাশা. Akasha, the whole universe can be resolved into one material, and that is the Akasha. This Akasha is all pervading and fine. এই আকাশের মধ্যে, তাহলে এর মধ্যে সমস্ত মেটেরিয়াল রয়েছে, কিন্তু সেখান থেকে সৃষ্টি সম্ভব হচ্ছে কি করে? এটা যেন একটা ওশানের মতো, সেই ওশানের মধ্যে যে মুভমেন্ট, সেটা হচ্ছে প্রাণা. Prana acts on Akasha to create the universe. Every manifestation of power is this prana. Then what about creation? Nice, poetic, Eastern, realistic, strong ideas. Creation, he says, at the beginning of a cycle, prana sleeps in the infinite ocean of Akasha. Then arises motion by the action of prana. Celestial systems, human beings, animals, plants, and all forces come into existence. At the end of the cycle, all manifest objects melt back into the original Akasha. Cyclic creation. Attraction, repulsion, and motion resolve into the original prana. This process of creation oscillates backward and forward. এটা হচ্ছে মোরাললেস, উনি যেরকমভাবে বোঝাচ্ছেন সেটা হচ্ছে মোরাললেস, আমাদের সমস্ত ট্র্যাডিশনে এগুলো অ্যাকসেপ্টেড আছে। ফিজিক্যাল সায়েন্স তার কথা তুলছেন, ওই যে উনি প্রমিস করেছেন প্রথমে যে হি উইল বি টকিং অ্যাবাউট ফিলসফি, সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড অফ কোর্স স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি অ্যান্ড সাইকোলজিক্যাল অ্যাসপেক্টস. So here he talks about physical science. He says that physical science knows up to this but can't reach beyond it, can't answer the basic question. Revered Swami Bodhamayanandaji Maharaj is here. ওকে আমাদের প্রণাম জানাচ্ছি. গতকালের উনি ইনঅগ্রাল সেশনের লেকচারে এই কথাগুলো এনেছেন যে ফিজিক্যাল সায়েন্স তার লিমিটেশন কি আছে এবং স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি কোন লাইনে যাচ্ছে, যেটার সঙ্গে ফিজিক্যাল সায়েন্সের রেজেম্বলেন্স কি আছে, ডিফারেন্স কি আছে. স্বামীজি তার সময় যে দূরদৃষ্টি নিয়ে দেখেছেন, সেখানে ফিজিক্যাল সায়েন্স যেদিকে এগোচ্ছে উনি খুব এক্সাইটেড ছিলেন মনে হয় যে এটা সত্যের দিকে এগোচ্ছে. শিকাগোতে পেপার অন হিন্দুইজম, তার মধ্যে উনি বলেছেন যে ওয়ান ডে দে উইল শেক হ্যান্ডস, এবং সায়েন্সের আমাদের ঋষিরা তাদের বক্ষে যে সত্য ধারণ করেছিলেন, দোজ ঋষিজ আর অনলি ডিলাইটেড টু সি দ্যাট দোজ ট্রুথস আর বিং টোল্ড বাই মডার্ন সায়েন্স উইথ মোর লাইট. এই ধরনের অদ্ভুত পোয়েটিক অ্যান্ড প্রফেটিক আটারেন্সেস আছে স্বামী বিবেকানন্দের. আর এই লেকচারে দেখছি উনি বলছেন যে ফিজিক্যাল সায়েন্স নোজ দিস বাট কান্ট রিচ বিয়ন্ড ইট, can't answer the basic question. So what is the basic question? Recalling the basic question is the unity of all things, and please tell one single thing from which everything has come. Continuing with the Hindu philosophy, and necessarily Sankhya, which has been taken almost entirely by Advaita. So Swamiji talks about this Sankhya approach, and he says that what is the mind? He says that according to this philosophy, origin of Akasha and Prana is mind or Mahat. Mind is finer than Akasha and Prana, and mind existed in the beginning. Behind Akasha and Prana is mind. As I told you that we will not go into the technicalities of this very much because we will go to Advaitic explanations and elaborations. Now he talks about psychology. He says that there are the sense organs. So what Swamiji is dealing with essentially, he is dealing with finding some oneness, finding more and more important things, which in Eastern traditions they will always say that important things means finer and finer. So in now psychology, he talks about sense organs. He says that the sense organs are external instruments like the eye, which bring external sensations. And then sensory nerves, the internal sense organs, carry these sensations to the brain, bohirindriyo, antarindriyo, then mon or mind. It is at the back of external and so we are near the end of first page. It is at the back of external and internal sense organs. Impressions are not registered if mind doesn't remain attached to the organ. Then after mind comes buddhi, then ahamkara and chitta. Though I have, given the bulleted points, we will skip that. That behind mind, buddhi, ahamkara, chitta. These are different strata that way. But then the question has come that when you are talking about the mind, which is after all changing, the buddhi, which is after all changing, then this changing, your articulation, your declaration of something is changing, that has to happen keeping in background something fixed. If there is not something, the screen is fixed and the displays are changing. So without something having fixed, how can you talk about changes? And what is that fixed entity? We come to the issue of soul. Swamiji says one more step is required. The organs, mind, intellect, chitta, ahamkar. This process won't be complete unless there is something permanent in the background. Maharaj, the next page, please. There's some in the coordination of this with the screen. There was some problems, so Maharaj ji has very kindly volunteered. So now psychology. After that, Maharaj, the next page will show us philosophy again. Yeah, we are within this, and there is soul at the beginning, soul internally, and there in the near the end of the screen. So soul, one step more is required, and Swamiji says that this process won't be complete unless there is something permanent in the background. This something is the soul of man. এই একটা আনচেঞ্জেবল এন্টিটি না থাকলে বাকিটার কথা বলাই যায় না. সেই আনচেঞ্জেবল এন্টিটিটাই হচ্ছে আত্মা or soul. The soul behind the universal mind is in the universe is called God. In the individual, it is the soul of man. Jivatma, Paramatma. এই হচ্ছে কনসেপ্ট, কিন্তু একটা চেঞ্জলেস এন্টিটি থাকতে হবে, তা নাহলে কথা এগোবে না। Now the question is, consider the individual man. What's real? 3 entities or 1? 3 entities মানে body, mind, soul. এই body, mind, soul, আমার body, আমার mind, আমার soul, এই তো বলতে গেলেই তো মনে হচ্ছে তিনটে আলাদা। সত্যি কি তাই? Are the body, mind and soul 3 different existences, or are they 3 in 1, or are they different states of existence of the same unit being? স্বামীজি বলছেন যে তিনটে ভিউ আছে, তিনটে ভিউকে নিয়ে উনি ডিল করেছেন এই লেকচারে। Dualism says that this soul has various qualities and all feelings of enjoyment, pleasure and pain belong to this soul. Buddhism we will come to later on, and non-dualists deny that the soul has any such quality and say that the soul is unqualified. তার কোনো গুণ দিয়ে, কোনো ক্যারেক্টারিস্টিক দিয়ে আত্মাকে ডিসক্রাইব করা যায় না, যে পুরুষ না নারী, তার জন্ম মৃত্যু কিছুই বলা যায় না, এরকম আনকোয়ালিফাইড। তারপরে আবার স্বামীজি চলে যাচ্ছেন দ্য কমন প্রিন্সিপলস অফ বেদান্তিক স্কুলস। সমস্ত বেদান্তিক স্কুল, দ্বৈত, অদ্বৈত, বিশিষ্টাদ্বৈত, তার মধ্যেও যে ডিনোমিনেশনসের মধ্যে নানান রকম ফের আছে, সেই সকলে যেটাকে স্বীকার করেন, দ্য কমন প্রিন্সিপলস, সোল ইজ ইমর্টাল সিন্স ইট ইজন্ট কম্পোজড অফ আকাশা অ্যান্ড প্রাণা। কম্পাউন্ড যেই হয়ে যায়, কম্পাউন্ড হলেই ইটস মর্টাল, আর সিম্পল যখন, যে কিছু কম্পোজিশনে তৈরি হয়নি, তখনই ওটা ইমর্টাল। The soul কিছু দিয়ে তৈরি হয়নি। Again, soul being simple must have been existing forever. It is চিরকালীন, অমর, and will exist forever, so it is immortal. এটা সকলেই স্বীকার করেন। When the body falls off, the soul lives on. এবং যখন দেহের অবসান হচ্ছে, তখন আত্মা থেকে যাচ্ছে। আত্মা ওই সূক্ষ্ম শরীর, সেটা গ্রহণ করে, বা লিঙ্গ শরীর, সাটল বডি, ফাইন বডি, সেইটাকে অবলম্বন করে আত্মা চলে যাচ্ছেন এবং তিনি নতুন দেহ পরিগ্রহ করছেন। সেটাই এরপরে বলা আছে। ইফ উই গো টু দ্য নেক্সট পেজ, উই উইল সি ডুয়ালিজম। ইন ডুয়ালিজম, Swamiji says, 3 different goals of the soul, threefold eschatology. ওই কোন কোন লোকে মানুষে চলে যায়, যারা খুব ভার্চুয়াস, ব্রহ্মলোকে গেল, কেউ মাঝামাঝি জায়গায় গেল, হেভেন্সে, আর যারা খুব খারাপ কাজ করেছে তারা গোস্টস অ্যান্ড ডেমন্স হয়ে রইল। এবং কি হলো, উই হ্যাভ রিটন ব্রহ্মলোকা, হেভেন্স, গোস্টস অ্যান্ড ডেমন্স, অ্যান্ড আর্থ ইজ দ্য কর্মভূমি। যে ওখানে যে যে লোকে গেল, সেই লোকে গিয়ে কর্মক্ষয় হয় না, সেই লোকে গিয়ে ভোগগুলো হয়, মানে বাংলায় বলতে গেলে ভোগ অথবা দুর্ভোগ, সেইগুলো হয় যার যেটা প্রাপ্য আছে। তারপরে তাকে আসতে হয় এই পৃথিবীতে কর্মক্ষয়ের জন্যে, সেই জন্য পৃথিবীটাকে বলা হচ্ছে কর্মভূমি। Now Buddhism in short, as chalked out by Swamiji, he says that the soul theory is denied. No need for something as the substratum. Let there be only the continuously changing mind and body. The apparent unity between these two doesn't exist, and Swamiji says that these arguments are very powerful. Both the dharma should change is glorified, that it is change that is all there. এবং এই চেঞ্জগুলো যখন হচ্ছে, ওরা এক্সাম্পল দিচ্ছেন যে একটা লাইট যদি থাকে, আর আমি যদি তাকে চাকার মতো ঘোরাতে থাকি, তাহলে মনে হবে একটা ব্রাইট লাইটের সার্কেল, কিন্তু তা তো নয়, ওটা ডিফারেন্ট আছে। এত স্পিডে ঘুরে যাচ্ছে, মনে হচ্ছে একটা কন্টিনিউয়াস কিছু। এই সেরকম ক্রিয়েশনকেও যে আপনারা বলছেন যে একটা ওয়ান হোল থিং, ওইসব বাজে। চেঞ্জটাই হচ্ছে আসল। ওই হোল থিং, ওয়ান সিঙ্গল এক্সিস্টেন্স যে দেখা হচ্ছে, ওটা ভুল হচ্ছে। অদ্বৈত আর নন ডুয়ালিজম, এবার স্বামীজি ওই জায়গাটাতে আসছেন। তিনি বলছেন যে changing creation, people see the changing creation, that is seen by most of the people. And Swamiji never said that this is erroneous and all that. Swamiji says that lower truth, from that we can and we should aim at and arrive at the higher truth. He says, vast majority of men sees the changing creation. Few have a glimpse of the calm sea behind. A calm sea behind, এখানে হচ্ছে বিবেকানন্দ একেবারে আসল জায়গাতে চলে আসছেন, যে একটা there is a calm sea, তার ওপরে যে চেঞ্জগুলো, এটাই বেশিরভাগ লোক দেখে। The soul is the one all comprehending existence. That soul is the Brahman appearing to be manifold by the interposition of name and form. And he gives the example of waves and the sea. the waves appear to be different. লোকে বলে এই কাছের ঢেউটা ওই দূরের ঢেউটা, নেম অ্যান্ড ফর্ম, কিন্তু এই ওয়েভসগুলো সত্যি না সমুদ্রটা সত্যি, হচ্ছে যে the sea is more true than the waves. The waves appear to be different just because of the forms and you are attaching names. এই কাছেরটা দূরেরটা, এটা সাদা মতো, ওটা নীল মতো, so the names and forms, এর জন্য এই খেলাটা হচ্ছে, কিন্তু অ্যাকচুয়ালি ওই calm sea that is the greatest reality. He says that there is no I nor you. It's either all I or all you. Here Vivekananda sounds at the same time two P's, philosophical and poetic. This universe is that one unit existence, and here he is talking about the Sat aspect of Satchidananda. He says that this universe is that one unit existence. Name and form is the outcome of Maya. Maya has painted all the dreams upon that one unit existence. Advaita Vedanta, very known utterances and declarations and axiomatic truths that due to Maya, the different forms are appearing and we people are attaching different names, and that is entering like a samskara within us. But if you meditate, then with concentrated mind you should be able to discover that no, it's one unique underlying existence, like the sea and the waves. Non-dualism refutes dualism. What is the refutation? But Swamiji's way of refuting is so nice. He is not fighting, but he is saying that, well, we are on the same path, we are co-travelers, but just look at this supreme truth. Do you agree to it or not? That is his way of putting it. He says that dualists are right in finding something unchanging behind all, but their analysis that that it is neither the body nor the mind is wrong. Birth, death, threefold eschatology, these are after all illusions. So when one reaches the supreme truth, one finds that these are illusions. So Swamiji goes so far as to say that God's reincarnations and transmigrations are all mythology. None comes and none goes, because where will the infinite being go? ওই সবটাই একটা চেতন, অসীম চেতন সত্তা, তাহলে কে কোথা থেকে আসছে যাচ্ছে এগুলোর কোনো মানে হচ্ছে না। কখন? যখন when one reaches that goal of non-dualism. Then in refutation of Buddhism, he says that the Buddhists' view that the whole universe is a mass of change is okay, but it's okay only so long as there are two things, the looker on and the thing looked upon. এখানে আমাদের বেদান্তিক টেক্সটে অনেক কিছু বলা আছে। স্বামীজি ইন শর্ট বলছেন যে কে দেখছে আর কোনটাকে দেখছে এর মধ্যে যখন ডিফারেন্স হচ্ছে তখন ওই রকম হচ্ছে, বাট দ্য ট্রুথ ইজ দ্যাট দ্য সোল, মাইন্ড অ্যান্ড বডি আর রিয়েলি ওয়ান, অ্যান্ড দ্যাট ইজ রিয়েলাইজড when delusion ceases. And science on matter and mind, ekhane Swamiji bolchen je objects are one unbroken. Swamiji says that science is struggling to reach that truth. So science knows that mass takes different forms. What was in the stars maybe now is in your or my body. So the matter is shuffling and changing places, and we are attaching different names. So these truths are not foreign to science. That is what Swamiji says. Now, next page, if we come to a realization of non-dualism, Swamiji says that can this grand truth of non-dualism be realized or not? Now, this is very characteristic of Swamiji, that he himself moods very difficult and challenging questions, and then he gives the answers. Here he says that non-dualism theoretically is okay, but can it be realized, and what is the form of, what is the flavor of that realization? He says that the first question, is it possible to realize this? And emphatically he says yes. Then there are men living in this world for whom delusion has vanished forever. Whenever Swamiji says men, that means man and woman, humans. Necessarily he is talking about them, that there are men living in this world for whom delusion has vanished forever. In fact, religion can be realized and has to be realized. Swamiji says that this is not a defensive type of answer, sort of apologetic type of answer that we are giving, that yes, some people, I have heard that some people have reached that non-dualistic truth. It's not that. It's realization. Maybe only a few now, but that number has to grow. As human beings, our lives are fulfilled only when we have some realization. So come on, let us speak of this realization which is true, which is attainable, and which has to be attained. Second question, do they immediately die after such realization? That means the realized soul. He says no. And then he brings the two wheels analogy, which is very popular. In Bengali, we can say that duto chaka ghurche, majkhane ekta অ্যাক্সিস আছে আর কি, একটা দণ্ড, দুটো চাকা একসঙ্গে ঘুরছে। এবার যদি একটা চাকাকে ধরে ফেলা যায় আর ওই দণ্ডটাকে কেটে দেওয়া যায়, অ্যাক্সিসটাকে কেটে দেওয়া যায়, তাহলে কি হবে? অ্যাক্সেলটাকে কেটে দেওয়া যায়, তাহলে কি হবে? আরেকটা চাকা ওর মোমেন্টামের জন্য ঘুরতে থাকবে। এইখানে স্বামীজি বলছেন যে ওই একটা চাকাকে যে আটকে দেওয়া হলো, ওই যে ঘুরছে, বাংলা গানে আছে কত আর ঘোরাবি কলুর বলদের মতো, ওই ঘোড়াটাকে যখন থামিয়ে দেওয়া হচ্ছে তখন হচ্ছে রিয়েল ম্যান ইমার্জ করছে, যে আর ঘোরে না। আর অ্যাপারেন্ট ম্যানটা হচ্ছে ওই লোকটা, ওই মানুষটারই ভেতরে যে অ্যাপারেন্ট ম্যান, সেটা হচ্ছে এই বডি মাইন্ড কমপ্লেক্সের মধ্যে যে আছে, তার ঘোড়াটা চলতে থাকে যতক্ষণ না মোমেন্টামটা শেষ হয়ে যাচ্ছে। তাহলে তার দেহটা ততক্ষণ পর্যন্তই থাকে যতক্ষণ কর্মফল আছে। খুব সুন্দর করে মাঝখানে কর্মের যে জায়গাটা আছে, যেটা জয়েন করা আছে, ওকে যেই কেটে দেওয়া হলো, তখন মোমেন্টামের জন্য ওইটা যতদিন চলবার চলবে, কিন্তু বাই দ্যাট টাইম হি হ্যাজ বিকাম এ রিয়েলাইজড ম্যান। তাহলে যেন রিয়েলাইজড ম্যান একরকম, আর তার ক্ষুধা তৃষ্ণা নিয়ে যে বডি, তাহলে বডি আর সেই রিয়েল ম্যান আর ওই অ্যাপারেন্ট ম্যানের মধ্যে সম্পর্কটা কি? রিয়েল ম্যানের ওই ঘোড়াটা শেষ হয়ে গেছে ফর এভার, আর ওই অ্যাপারেন্ট ম্যান যার কিনা খিদে পাচ্ছে, শরীর খারাপ হচ্ছে ইত্যাদি, আবার শরীর ভালো হচ্ছে, ওই অ্যাপারেন্ট ম্যান যতক্ষণ না কর্মক্ষয় হচ্ছে ততক্ষণ পর্যন্ত কন্টিনিউ করবে, তারপর তার শরীরটা পড়ে যাবে। The real man, the soul, is one will, the apparent man is the other will, joined together by the pole of karma, and knowledge is the axe. On cutting the pole, the real man emerges. He is called the living free or Jivan Mukta. The other will moves on due to the momentum of past acts. It will live until that momentum is exhausted. Then the body and mind will fall and the soul will become free. This is the goal of the Vedantin. এইখানে স্বামীজি ওই পয়েন্টটাতে চলে এসেছেন যে বেদান্তিনের গোল কি? ওই জীবনমুক্ত অবস্থাটা লাভ করা। And now he talks about Jivan Mukta. He says that the experience of the Jivan Mukta is that he is changeless, attributeless. So whatever he has been telling up to this, that this is the state, these are the characteristics, like a A1 teacher, now he is saying that yes, there are people who realize this truth, enjoy the bliss coming out of it, and we are talking about the characteristic of that man or woman. Jivan Mukta experiences that he is changeless, attributeless, eternally perfect and blessed. And then he brings about the analogy of the sky, that the sky is there and the clouds are just coming and passing by, different shapes of clouds. Some are having moisture within them, black clouds, other with snow-like clouds, they're coming, appearing and going away, but the firmament, the sky remains. Similarly, to the realized soul, all the perceptions come and go. Pleasure and sorrow, they come and go, and just like the witness, the real man remains. He or she is not perturbed by the clouds coming and going. Jivan Mukta, Swamiji says, Jivan Mukta further realizes that none is born sinner or born wicked. আপনাদের ওইটা মনে পড়বে হয়তো, শিকাগোতে তিনি বলে গর্জে উঠলেন। In a thundering voice he says that sinner, it's a sin to call a man sinner. আগের সেশনে এই সমস্ত কথা হয়েছে, পূজনীয় বোধমায়ানন্দজি প্রিসাইড করছিলেন। এই যে সিনার যে কনসেপ্টটা, স্বামীজি ওটা নিতে পারছেন না, যে উই আর চিলড্রেন অফ ইমর্টাল ব্লিস, এইখানে সেই ভয়েসটা আমরা পাচ্ছি। নান ইজ বর্ন সিনার or born wicked, we are the gods of the universe. In worshipping God, we have always been worshipping our own hidden self. From the dualist standpoint, that is why I am saying that Swamiji is not fighting the dualist. He is shaking hands. কিন্তু এটা বলছেন যে ডুয়ালিস্ট যাকে করছে সেটা হচ্ছে যে আসলে আমাদের হিডেন সেলফকেই বাইরে কোনো একটা ইমেজের মধ্যে দিয়ে সে ওয়ার্শিপ করছে। নাইস, ওর মধ্যে পোয়েট্রি আছে, সং আছে, সব কিছু আছে, ধূপের ধোঁয়া আছে, প্রসাদ আছে, কিন্তু অ্যাকচুয়ালি ওই নিজের সেলফটাকেই সে করছে, পিওরেস্ট সেলফ, তাকেই কিছু একটা অবলম্বনের মাধ্যমে করছে। স্বামীজি বিউটিটা দেখাচ্ছেন যে এইটার থেকে যখন তুমি ট্রান্সেন্ড করে যাবে তখন দেখবে যে ওটা আসলে তোমার ভেতরকার যে পিওরেস্ট সোল, যেটা মেলও নয় ফিমেলও নয়, সেই সোলকেই তুমি এতদিন ধরে উপাসনা করে এসেছো। হি ইজ omnipresent and all time is in him, he is not in time. That is why I said that I will have to struggle against time. So একটুখানি আছে, আমরা যতটা পারি শর্ট করে নিয়ে স্টিপুলেটেড সময়ের মধ্যেই শেষ করবার চেষ্টা করব। জীবন মুক্ত and free will. Is there anything called free will? Once again, Swamiji raises himself this tricky question and he says, free will is a misnomer. কেন misnomer? তার কারণ যে বদ্ধ আছে ওর ফ্রি উইল বলে কিছু হয় না, সেলফ কন্ট্রাডিক্টরি, যে ও তো বাউন্ড, তার আবার ফ্রি উইল কোথা থেকে গেল? আর যে ফ্রি আছে তার ক্ষেত্রে আর ফ্রি উইল বলে কিছু হয় না, কারণ ও যে ইউনিভার্সাল এন্টিটি তার সঙ্গে ওয়ান হয়ে গেছে। ফ্রি উইল মানে যেন ওটা একটা এজেন্ট, is going to do something else. তা তো নয়। Free will is a misnomer. Real man is eternally free. Apparent man is bound. Only when the real man becomes bound, his will comes into existence. আমরা যারা ফিলসফির স্টুডেন্ট নই ফর্মালি, আমাদের পক্ষে এগুলো বুঝতে খুব সুবিধে হয় যে যেভাবে উনি নিয়ে যাচ্ছেন পুরো ইন্ডিয়ান রিলিজিয়াস অ্যান্ড স্ক্রিপচারাল লিটারেচার, সেটাকে সংস্কৃতে বলে হস্তামলকবৎ, হাতে ধরা একটা ফলের মতো করে নিয়ে ইন কমন ম্যানস পারলেন্স কি বিউটিফুলি ওটাকে প্রেজেন্ট করছেন। বলছেন only when the real man becomes bound, his will comes into existence. In the state of bondage there remains that recollection of the freedom which is ours by divine right. যখন ইয়েতে আছি, আমরা বন্ডেজের মধ্যে আছি, তখন ভেতরে ভেতরে ওই উইশটা থাকে যে উই আর ফ্রি। সেইটার একটা যেন একটা সানলাইট কোথাও না কোথা দিয়ে আসে এবং আমাদেরকে অ্যাট্রাক্ট করে টুয়ার্ডস দিস ফ্রিডম। কনসিয়াসলি অর আনকনসিয়াসলি ইউ আর all struggling towards it. Jivan Mukta and the laws of nature. When man attains freedom, he doesn't remain bound by any law. Jivan Mukta doesn't require the ratiocinations of logic to understand the truth. তাহলে জীবন মুক্তর ক্ষেত্রে লজিক আছে না নেই? হচ্ছে হি ইজ বিয়ন্ড লজিক। ও যেহেতু ইউনিভার্সাল এক্সিস্টেন্সের সঙ্গে ওয়ান হয়ে গেছে, লজিক্যাল যে অ্যানালিসিস ওটা আমাদের দরকার লাগে টু অ্যারাইভ এট দ্য ট্রুথ। আমরা যখন স্ট্রাগল করছি ফ্রম নেসেসারিলি ডুয়ালিস্টিক পয়েন্ট অফ ভিউ, কিন্তু যখন ওইখানে চলে গেছে তখন তার লজিক লাগে না। অ্যাট দ্য সেম টাইম হি ইজ নট ইললজিক্যাল। It is to him the life of his life made more than tangible. It is like a fruit in the hand. Those who have realized the truth will stand up and say, here is the soul. If one argues with them, they will only smile and that's all. তারা আর ঝগড়া করবেন না যদি কেউ ওরকম আর্গু করে কার সঙ্গে, একজন জীবন মুক্তর সঙ্গে। আর যদি পরমহংসের সঙ্গে আর্গু করে, তখন উই কাম টু রামকৃষ্ণ পরমহংস, যে মশাই, স্যার হ্যাভ ইউ সিন গড? তখন বলছেন যে আমি দেখেছি, আর তোমাকেও দেখাতে পারি, দেখাতেও পারি। And see the last line under this bullet, Jivan Mukta and the laws of nature. If Swamiji says, if one argues with them, then they will only smile and that's all. This speaker is inevitably reminded of Sri Ramakrishna and that great incident. Though Swamiji is talking about Jivan Mukta here. Then Jivan Mukta and morality. ওইখানটা আই উইল কাট শর্ট। এখানে স্বামীজি বলছেন যে জীবন মুক্ত যে সে সবসময় মরাল হবে, কারণ আমাদের যে কাভারিংগুলো থাকে ইভল তারপর গুড, এই দুটো কাভারিংকেই কাটতে হয়। প্রথমে ইভলটাকে কাটতে, ওয়ান ইজ টু ব্রেক দ্যাট শিদ অর দ্যাট কাভারিং, অ্যান্ড দেন দ্য কাভারিং অফ গুডনেস অলসো, দেন ইউ রিচ দ্য সচ্চিদানন্দ। তাহলে যদি ইভল যে কাভারিং আছে ওটাকে যদি কাটতে হয়, তাহলে জীবন মুক্ত অ্যান্ড অ্যাট দ্য সেম টাইম ইমমরাল এটা কোনোদিন হয় না। তাই কেউ যদি এই বাজে দিস ব্যাড লজিক দেয় যে জীবন মুক্ত মানে অ্যাবভ অল লজ, সো হি অর শি হ্যাজ গট ফুল লিবার্টি টু বিকাম ইমর্টাল, দেন দ্যাট ইজ অ্যাবসলিউটলি নট ডান। সেইটা স্বামীজি এখানে বলেছেন। দেন জীবন মুক্ত's work and his presence. Jivan Mukta's work means what does he do? Again, one might be reminded of the Upanishads, but we are following Swamiji's words for the time being. He says, Jivan Mukta, his lips speak only benediction to all. His presence is a blessing wherever he goes. He, by his very presence, changes even the most wicked persons into saints. Jivan Mukta eita koren. Jivan Mukta and the future of the world. As I said, that this is very much tallying with the key themes of this seminar, this particular lecture. We are near the end. Maybe we'll take 3-4 minutes. Sorry for that. Jivan Mukta and the future of the world. Swamiji says that religious realization does all the good to the world. This is a very emphatic statement. যে কেউ যদি বলেন যে রিলিজিয়াস রিয়েলাইজেশন কিছু সাধু সন্ন্যাসী বলছেন, কিছু অন্য লোকেরা বলছেন, এটা দিয়ে জগতের কি হবে? ইন দ্য ফেস অফ ইট উনি বলছেন যে জগতের সবচেয়ে বেশি উপকার হবে বাই রিলিজিয়াস রিয়েলাইজেশন. ওয়াই? Those who thought the least of their own individualities have been the greatest workers in the world. Then alone a man loves genuinely when he finds that the object of his love is God himself. Upanishadic idea. যে লাভের কথা ডাইলিউট ওয়েতে বলে কি লাভ আছে? দ্য স্ট্রংগেস্ট ইমোশন অফ লাভ হচ্ছে কখন? যখন কিনা যাকে ভালোবাসছে তার মধ্যে ভগবানের প্রকাশ দেখছে. সো কাম টু প্র্যাকটিক্যালিটি. এর থেকে বড় কথা আর কি হতে পারে? He will also love the unholiest of men, seeing the Lord in him. যারা জীবন মুক্ত এবং তার প্র্যাকটিক্যাল এসেনশিয়াল ওয়াই হি ইজ রিকোয়ার্ড ইন দিস ওয়ার্ল্ড, সেটা যখন বলছি তখন বলছি যে এই তো একজন যে কিনা তার গ্রেটেস্ট এনিমিকে পর্যন্ত ভালোবাসছে, যেহেতু তার মধ্যেও সেই লর্ডকে দেখছে. তুমি যদি ওয়ার্ল্ড চেঞ্জ করার কথা বলো তাহলে এইগুলোকে তুমি ইভেট করে যাবে কি করে? Such a man becomes a world mover. Such a man alone has the right to stand up and say, how beautiful is this world. তাহলে এই যে অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েশনটা, এটা সেন্সরি অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েশনের অনেক ওপরে, এটা সাবলাইম. If all mankind today realize only a bit of that great truth, the aspect of the whole world will be changed. তারপরে হাইলাইটেড জায়গাতে চলে আসছি. The great ideal of love will be so powerful that no whip and cord will be necessary to guide mankind in the right path. এটা কি হবে নাকি ইউটোপিয়ান? না. রঙ্গনাথানন্দজি মহারাজ বলছেন, he is saying that human evolution will no more be visible substantially in the physical plane. Physically, we are not going to change much. But human evolution is and will necessarily be a psychosocial evolution. The psychosocial evolution ta mane ki? Tokhon hocche je man towards godhood, woman towards godhood, sainthood, godhood, যেভাবে বলি না কেন, that is a psychosocial evolution. Ranganathanji bolchen that this has to happen. That is why we will have to build up the science of human values. Otherwise, perhaps we will be inviting self-destruction. Swamiji's idea, তিনি ইকো করছেন. এখানে স্বামীজি বলছেন যে no whip and cord will be necessary if 1/millionth part of the men and women living in this world simply sit down for a few minutes and say, you are all God, oh you men and you animals and living beings, you are all the manifestations of the one living deity, the whole world will be changed in half an hour. তারপরে স্কিপ করে শ্রী রামকৃষ্ণের কথায় চলে যাচ্ছি. As you know that in the West he hardly took the name of Sri Ramakrishna, but here he says, and how sweet it is, near the end of his lecture he says, my whole life has been changed by the touch of one of these divine men about whom I am going to speak to you next Sunday. Even there he doesn't take the name of Thakur. And the final words, the time is coming when these thoughts will be cast abroad over the whole world. They won't remain confined to monasteries or philosophical texts to be studied only by the learned. They won't remain the exclusive possession of sects, but will be sown broadcast over the whole world, so that they may become the common property of the saint and the sinner, of men, women and children, of the learned and of the ignorant. They will permeate the atmosphere of the world. And mone hoy je, are we listening to the voice of a sadhu or a dreamer, of a lover of mankind, maybe all in one? And the very air that we breathe will say, with every one of its pulsations, thou art that. And the whole universe, with its myriads of suns and moons, through everything that speaks, with one voice will say, thou art that. That's the end of the lecture, Real and Apparent Man. And I have added, as you can see, Maharajji, the last portion please, we have added these sayings from another lecture. What Swamiji is aiming at, he says in another lecture, but see how very pertinent it is over here. Therefore, the one great lesson that we learn from the Vedas at the start is that religion has just begun. The infinite ocean of spiritual truth lies before us to be worked on, to be discovered, to be brought into our lives. And then Swamiji goes to the extent of saying, the time is to come when prophets will walk through every street in every city in the world. That is perhaps the greatest words of hope that mankind has ever uttered. Thank you. Namaskar.
Now you heard the concise Vedanta. So now we are going out of time, so I'm not elaborating what you heard. It's a very deep subject and all, with the different philosophies, comparisons and reasons. So thank you, Somnath ji. You compiled it very well. Thank you. Hari Om. Now, Puja Swami Bodhamayanandaji Swamiji is here. So I humbly request Swamiji to come over the dais. And next, the divinity in man. The subject continues. The next subject is spiritualizing everyday life, which is very important to experience the divinity in us. So I request Dr. Om Prakash Verma ji, Secretary, Vivekananda Vidyapith, Raipur. Om.
Most revered Swami Hari Brahmeshanandaji Maharaj, Swami Bodhamayanandaji Maharaj, Swami Suparnanandaji Maharaj, other revered Swamijis sitting off the dais, and dear participants participating in this international seminar. We have heard very illuminating lectures from previous speakers, and as it has been told that my topic of the present deliberation is spiritualizing everyday life. There are two main approaches to understand human life. One is the materialistic approach, and the other one is the spiritualistic approach or spiritual approach. The materialistic approach believes that life occurs accidentally by the biochemical interaction of the biological factors, and since it believes that life occurs accidentally, it doesn't believe any specific purpose of life. If there is any specific purpose of life, then that is to live happily by hook or crook. There is a proverb in English, all of you know that proverb, eat, drink and be merry. This is the materialistic approach. And this materialistic approach came in existence in India also. The sage Charvak, Maharshi Charvak established this ideology. His philosophy in a verse is very common, very popular. Many of you know that verse. He says, Yavat jivet sukham jivet, rinam kratva dhritam pibet, bhasmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kuta. As long as you live happily, borrow money and drink ghee. Once the body is reduced to ashes, how it will come back? Means it will not come back. And therefore, he says that one should live happily in this life. But this materialistic approach was never encouraged in India. In India, another approach, that is the spiritual approach, has been prevalent throughout the ages. Unlike the materialistic approach, the spiritual approach believes that life doesn't occur accidentally, but life has got a specific purpose. And what is that specific purpose? The specific purpose is to get rid of from the cycle of birth and death, to get rid of from the sorrows, agonies, trouble, anxieties of the world, to enjoy eternal, endless, and uninterrupted bliss. Now the question arises how it can be possible. Our Upanishad says that it is definitely possible. How it is possible? Shvetashvatar Upanishad says, Gyatva devam sarvapasha pahani Chinaih kleshaih janma mrityu prahani. After having known that God, after having known that Atman, sarvapasha pahani, all types of bondages are destroyed. Chinaih kleshaih, all types of anxiety, trouble, worries, they vanish. Janma mrityu prahani, and man becomes free from the clutches of birth and death. This is the stage of Atmagyan. And this Atmagyan has been considered, as you have heard from many speakers, that it is the highest achievement, spiritual achievement of human life. Atmanam Vijani. Atmanam Vijani is the eternal message of Upanishad. And for this Atmagyan, India has sacrificed each and everything. In one of the lectures of Raj Yoga, Swami Vivekananda says, each soul is potentially divine. And the goal of human life is to manifest that divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do it either by work or by worship or by psychic control or by philosophy. By one of these or by all of these and be free. That is the whole of religion. And what is religion? Swamiji says that religion is the manifestation of divinity already in man. Man is basically spiritual. Vedanta says that each individual has got immense potential in himself. That potential is hidden, that potential is concealed. Srimad Bhagavad Gita says, Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantva. This ignorance has covered the knowledge, and therefore we are not able to see our real nature. We think ourselves that we are man, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. But we are not man, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. It is not our real nature. Our real nature is that we are nitya, shuddha, buddha, mukta, atma. Bhagavad Pad Shankaracharya, in his composition Nirvan Shatkam, says, Mano buddhaya ahankara chittani naham, nacha shrota jivhe nacha grana netre, nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu, chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. So our real nature is that chidananda rup, we are chidananda rup, we are Shiv, aham brahmasmi tattvamasi. That is our real nature. So this has been the teachings of our ancient seers of the truth. And Swamiji taught this great spiritual lesson to the whole world. Swamiji was a great spiritual guru. In fact, Swamiji came to spiritualize the whole world. It was the mission of Swamiji. Swamiji wrote a letter to his disciple Sister Nivedita on 7th June 1896. And in that letter he mentioned his mission of life. Swamiji wrote, my ideal indeed can be put into few words. That is to preach unto mankind their divinity and how to get it manifest in every moment of life. So this was the Swamiji's ideal. This was the Swamiji's message to the whole world. Swamiji's Guru Sri Ramakrishna Dev had taught him that the God is the all-abiding Spirit and is dwelling within everyone. And therefore, Swamiji proclaimed that the man is the highest entity to be worshipped. Swamiji told, the only God to worship is the human soul in human body. Of course, all animals are temples too, but man is the highest, the Taj Mahal of the temples. If I cannot worship in that, no other temple shall be of any advantage. Swamiji told, if you want to teach religion to a hungry, take religion to him in the form of the bread. If you want to teach religion to the naked, take religion to him in the form of the cloth. If you want to teach religion to a diseased, take religion to him in the form of the medicine. Swamiji says, it is the gist of all worship to be pure and to do good to others. He who sees God in the poor, in the diseased, really worships God. And if he sees God only in an image, then his worship is but preliminary. Swamiji wrote a letter to his disciple, Maharaja of Mysore, and in which Swamiji wrote a very beautiful lines. Swamiji wrote, my dear prince, this life is short, and the vanities of world are transient. They alone live who live for others, and rest are more dead than alive. And for this service of poor, for this service of downtrodden, Swamiji sacrificed his each and everything. He sacrificed his moksha also. He sacrificed his mukti also, the moksha, the mukti, that has been considered as the highest spiritual achievement of the human life. Swamiji sacrificed that moksha also. And what does Swamiji say? May I be born again and again and suffer thousands and thousands of miseries, so that I may worship the only God that exists. The only God I believe in, the sum total of all the souls. In fact, by the end of 18th century, India had become depressed. India had become weak, but with the touch of Swamiji, the old India became young again. So this was the great contribution of Swami Vivekananda for rebuild of India. When we see the past history of our nation, we find that our nation has made wonderful progress in different fields of life. We were foremost in industry and business. We were foremost in science and technology. India used to do global business with Europe, Middle East, South Asia, and many other parts of the world. India was known as golden bird at time. At that time, we had our own systems in different fields of life. We had our own economic system. We had our own educational pattern. We had our own science and technology. And moreover, we had our own philosophy on business and administration. But all these were regulated through the great ideal of moksha. Moksha was considered to be our national ideals. And that is why it has been said, Ya Vidya Sa Vimuktaye. Only that knowledge is acceptable which can bring moksha to the person. Swamiji delivered a lecture in London, and the topic was the real nature of man. And in that lecture, Swamiji said a very, very important thing related to Vedanta. Swamiji said, men are taught from their childhood that they are weak and sinners. Teach them. Teach them that they are the glorious son of immortality, even though who are lowest in manifestations. Let strong, useful and positive thoughts enter into their brain from very childhood. Say to yourself, I am he, I am he. Let it ring day and night like a song in your mind. And even at the time of death declare, I am he. The infinite world of strength is yours. Drive out the superstition that has covered your mind. Let us be bold. Know the truth. Practice the truth. The goal may be distant, but arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Churasya dhara nishita duratya durgam pathah tat kavyoh vadanti uttisthata jagrata prapya varani bodhata. This is a verse from Kathopanishad which Swamiji used to like very much. He often quoted it in his writing, in his lectures. And the meaning of this verse is, the path of perfection of life is very difficult. It is as difficult as to walk on the edge of the blade. It is very difficult as to walk on the edge of the knife. And therefore Swamiji says, Upanishad says, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. Swamiji wrote a letter to his brother monk, Swami Ramakrishna and in that letter he composed a verse, he composed a shloka. Kin naam rodasi sakhe tvai sarva shaktih amantra yasva bhagavan bhagadam swarupam त्रैलोक्यमेतद खिलम तव पाद मूले आत्मैव हि प्रभवति न जड़ कदाचित. Why do you weep, my friend? Why do you weep? Why do you cry? All the powers are within you. Express your divinity and you will find that the majesty of Trilok will be at your feet. In this way, Swamiji taught this great spiritual message to the whole world. But it never means that he neglected the material aspect of life. He also gave due importance to material aspect of life. And that is why he liked the definition of dharma, that definition of dharma very much, which has been given by Maharshi Kanad in Vaisheshik Darshan. There are various definitions of dharma, but Maharshi Kanad has given a very beautiful definition of dharma. Maharshi Kanad says, Yato abhyuday nishreyas siddhi sa dharma. Dharma is that by which both abhyuday and nishreyas, by both materialism and spiritualism, both are strengthened. Dharma essentially excludes materialism. In fact, that the society, the nation can be compared with a bird. Materialism and spiritualism are two wings. If both the wings are strong, then only the flight of the bird would be swift and unbroken. But if any of the wing is weak, the bird cannot fly. And therefore, for the person, for the society, for the nation, it is essential that spiritualism and materialism both should be strengthened. In taking this viewpoint, Swamiji has given a very, very important message to the whole world. Swamiji told, India has to learn from Europe the conquest of external nature. Europe has to learn from India the conquest of internal nature. then there would be neither Indian nor Europeans. There would be an ideal personality that has conquered both the nature that is external and internal. We have developed one phase of humanity. They have developed the another phase of humanity. And it is the combination of the two that is required today. In another place, Swamiji says, we want today that bright sun of intellectuality should join with the heart of Buddha, the wonderful, infinite heart of love and beauty, love and mercy. This union will give us the highest philosophy. Science and religion will meet and shake hands. Poetry and philosophy will become friends. This would be the religion of future. So this has been the dream of Swamiji, which dream of Swamiji about future world culture, which Swamiji has cherished, nourished in his heart. And the last point, which I like to discuss, is that how can we spiritualize our everyday life? If we spiritualize our everyday life with the spirit of Karma Yoga, then our duty would become an effective means for increasing our job satisfaction, our job involvement, our job efficiency, and also it will give us the highest spiritual attainment in the life. How? Nowadays, every employee is aware of his own fundamental right. And in order to attain his own fundamental right, he creates various problems in organizational situations. He goes on a strike, he doesn't work, he involves himself in gherav, so on and so forth. The demand of right is not bad, provided one should be completely devoted to his duties. But the tragedy is that we have forgotten our duties completely, and we always fight for our so-called But in India, this word right has never been used. In our scriptures, right has never been used. It is a word imported from the West. In India, simply duty has been emphasized. Duty with full devotion and an excellent efficiency in the work. These are the two basic Indian approach to work behavior. And this duty with full devotion has been highly glorified in Gita, where it has been said that you should perform your duties as if that you are praying to Lord. In 18th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Shri Krishna says a remarkable thing to Arjuna. Bhagwan Shri Krishna says, Sve sve karmani abhiratah sansiddhim labhate narah swakarma niratah siddhim yatha vindutu tachrinu yatah pravittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcham shreyan vindati manvah. Sve sve karmani abhirata sansiddhim labhate narah. Man attains perfection by doing his own duty with full devotion. And how does man attain perfection? By engaging himself in his duty. Lord Krishna gives answer to the next line. Yata pravittir bhutanam. From whom proceeds the activities of all being. And yena sarvam idam tatam, by whom this all is pervaded, swakarmana tamabhyarcham shreyan vindati manava. Worshipping him is through his own duty. Worshipping him is through his own karma. Man attains perfection. What a beautiful message it has been given. Now for God realization, one need not essentially read to the scriptures. One need not essentially go to the temples. But one has to perform his duty with full integrity, with full sincerity, with full honesty, with full dedication. If he performs his duty with full dedication, that duty becomes worship of God. A devotee of Bhagavan Shankar says, Yad yad karma karomi tatta dakhilam shambhostava radhanam. Hey Bhagavan Shambho, whatever I do is thy worship. So this is the spirit of Karma Yoga. So here lies the significance of Karma Yoga, that it gives us the right attitude about the work. It gives us proper insight into the psychodynamics of action and present before us the perfect and integrated system of efficiency covering all phases of life. It imparts power and ability to shoulder responsibility, which not only increases our capacity to work, but it also increases the right emotional attitude for the work. And if we perform our duty with this spirit of Karma Yoga, then our duty, our all types of work, our all types of duty, they will become the worship of God, and we will be able to have the highest spiritual realization, and in this way we can spiritualize our everyday life. Now I close, my time is over. I am extremely grateful to Swami Suparnanandji and organizers of this seminar for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to express my feelings on this auspicious event. And I express my heartiest thanks to you all also, who patiently heard me and thus encouraged me. Thank you to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Om Prakash Verma ji, so giving an inspirational talk on spiritualization of life. So he touched all important points. Amradasya putraha, and the Karma Yoga is the basic sadhana for this spiritualization. In fact, the material world and the spiritual sadhana, that they both are one and the same. So in our Shastras it is said, we are not denying material world, but we are spiritualizing it. It's making its Atma, it become Brahma, is one with that. So thank you, Om Prakash ji. Now I, with humble request, I invite Pujya Swami Bodhamayanandaji Maharaj to take up the subject, the Atman, or divine core and the source of strength. It's the nature of Atma. Om.
Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu तेजोसि तेजोमयि देहि वीर्यमसि वीर्यं मयि देहि बलमसि बलं मयि देहि ओजोसि ओजो मयि देहि मन्युरसि मन्युं मयि देहि सहोसि सहो मयि देहि सर्वस्तरतु दुर्गाणि सर्वो भद्राणि पश्यतु सर्वसद्बुद्धिमाप्नोतु सर्वत्र नन्दतु हरिः ओम्। My humble pranams to revered Swami Suparnanji Maharaj, Secretary of Institute of Culture, Gold Park. My namaskars to other brother monks. My namaskars to Swami Haribrahmendraనంద Tirthaji, who is presiding in this session. My namaskars to the other two guest speakers, Dr. Somnath Bhattacharya and Dr. Om Prakash Verma. My namaskars and greetings to all devotees. Since yesterday evening, all of you have been listening to nearly 10 different topics under the same umbrella of Vedanta as taught by Swami Vivekananda, under the occasion in commemoration of the 125th anniversary of the Ramakrishna mission. As you all know, Swami Vivekananda starting the organization in Balram Mandir on 1st May 1897 with a view to bring about a monastic band of workers who will spread the message of Vedanta, message of his master Sri Ramakrishna and our Indian culture in nook and corner of the country and the whole world also. Mind you, 125 years of a spiritual organization. After Bhagavan Buddha, in between came Adi Shankaracharya, but restricted the movement, restricted the teachings to one section of the society, though he cleaned up the Hindu system and wrote several commentaries and gave the truth of Vedanta to common man. But it was for Swami Vivekananda to go around the whole world, not just stay in Kolkata or Dakshineshwar or in the Himalayas. His master would not permit that. And Swamiji has had to struggle for the next 8.5 years. From the time he landed in Chicago, September 11th, 1893, his work started, till he gave up his body, 1902, July 4th in Belur Math. The span of work was only 8.5 years. But the intensity and extensity of how he spread the message of Vedanta, he said, it will be for the next 1,500 years. Can you imagine the spirit, imagine the vision and the mission of this man which we are trying to speak in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or in one seminar. Unfathomable. What was that power which Swamiji manifested, which he worked out in his daily life? From the time he was born as the son of Vishwanath Datta and Bhuvaneshwari Devi. And the training that he got for 5 long years under Sri Ramakrishna. 1881, a young lad of 18 years, studying in the Scottish Church College, coming out as Narendra, as Vivekananda. In one of his conversations, Swamiji says, if I had not met my master, if he had not cleaned me up, he picked me up from the streets of Kolkata, if I had not come under his care, I would have become a bundle of foolish, selfish emotions. A man who shook the whole world in 3.5 minutes, who could have become the president of the entire universe just by the play of his fingers. He says, I would have been a bundle of foolish, selfish emotions. With a mere glance, a Sri Ramakrishna can produce 1,000 Vivekanandas. But mind you, my dear young friends and devotees, when he landed in Chicago, Suddenly he found to his amazement that Parliament is postponed. Then the rest is history. How he goes to Boston and gets the credentials from John Henry Wright. And then when he comes back on 9 September, lo and behold, he is on the streets. He lost the address of the accommodation for the guest speakers. He did not have bath. Cold was setting in. No friends, no Indian embassy, no NRIs. Please meditate over this, my dear friends and devotees of Kolkata. He goes to a house in the Indian style of begging, and this man is thrown out by the servants, pushed out by the servants. Hey, nigger, get out. We'll hand you over to the police. Insult at every corner in Chicago on 9 September. He goes to the second house. Dogs were left on him. He had to run away in fear. He goes to third house, again insult. Doors were slammed on his face. You black beggar, how dare you beg? Where would he go in the cold winter of Chicago? Back to the railway station. Sleep there in a goods carriage, covering his body with grass to protect himself for the night. And morning, what does he get? Does he get sandwich? Does he get cool drinks? The porters, the coolies drive him out. What does he do? Go to Michigan Lake, wash his face, drink that water, and there the turning point in his life comes. What was that which was Vivekananda? A tremendous intelligence, tremendous physical capacity to bear the other strains, but there was something else. Dive deep into Swamiji's life. He had 3 powers. Number 1, Desha Bhakti, uncompromising love on Mother India. Guru Bhakti, Asima Prema Rupa. The moment somebody says Ra, Vivekananda would shed tears. His mind goes back as a young boy in Dakshineshwar at the feet of his master. Guru Bhakti, Desha Bhakti. The third thing that Swamiji had in his heart was Shastra Bhakti. The absolute faith in the scriptures of India, in the Upanishads, in the Gita, and he said that will alone change the world. For that he has come, to make Vedanta so simple that even a baby would be able to digest it. And the fourth thing that Swamiji had was his absolute Atma Balam. Not his buddhi, not his health, but the Atman inside. That roared on Chicago, September 11th at 3:30 in the afternoon. When somebody asked him, Naren Bhai, what was that power that you used in Chicago? That 7,000 people got up and cheered for that 5 common nouns in English, sisters and brothers of America. Was it any yoga power? Was it any magic? Swamiji laughed and said, no, my brother, no. He gave a beautiful, deep, psychological answer. He said, for the last 14 years, I did not allow even one bad thought to enter into my mind, even in dream. That was the power which spoke in Chicago. Not his English, not his handsome face, not Vedanta, but the purity of his character. What deep inner core of his strength was speaking. 14 years, from the time he is 16, maybe 11th standard, 12th standard boy, till he bounced on Chicago on 30th year, 1893, he did not allow one bad thought, one lustful thought, even in dream. That is the power of the spirit over matter. And the rest is history. For the next 8.5 years, the whole world followed him. And it continues to do so, knowingly or unknowingly, silently or with noise. And that message goes back to the Upanishads. Taittiriya Upanishad, which says, Ashishto Drudishto Balishta Tasyayam Prithvi Sarva Vittasya Purnasyat. This world is for the strong, the energetic, the intelligent, the pure. That is the kind of students that India has to produce. It is not by caste, it is not by region, it is not by language, it is not by your creed. It is by your spirit. When all the missiles of Kaushika went in vain fighting against Vasishtha for Kamadhenu, and Vasishtha did not shoot even one arrow. He just sat in meditation, keeping his yoga danda in the front. Very inspiring story in the Ramayana. And when he found all the missiles are sucked by that yoga danda, Kaushika is helpless. He has gone bankrupt. Pagal hoye gaye. What more should I fight against? That fellow has not hit even one. Vasishtha lost without, Kaushika lost without Vasishtha shooting back. And he makes a very profound statement, a realization. He said, Dhikshatriya balam brahma tejo balam balam. Dhikshatriya balam, all the Kshatriya bala, the Bahubala, the missile bala, is all waste. I threw it out. It did not even affect the enemy. But what is that balam? Brahma tejo balam balam. There and then he renounces everything and marches into the forest to come out as Vishwamitra Maharshi, who gave the Gayatri Mantram to us, who gave the Divyastras to Rama and Lakshmana, who made the arrangement between Rama and Sita to get married. And when, my dear young friends and devotees, when we come to Mahabharata, what was Arjuna lacking? Everything under the sun was there. He had Krishna himself as the Sarathi, Gita-charya. He had 4 wonderful brothers, each one master of different warfares. Comes in the Bharata Vamsha. And in the 12 years of the Vanavasa, were they eating only laddus and some batasa? No, Krishna was making Arjuna and others prepare for the Ghora Yuddha. He made Arjuna get the Pashupatastra from Mahadeva Shiva. Arjuna got it as a blessing. He made Arjuna go to Indraloka and say, get all the Divyastras. Do you think you are playing with Tom, Dick and Harry opposite? You will be fighting with Bhishma, with Drona, with Karna, with Ashwatthama. Atirata Maharati is there, very strong army opposite side. You have to be more equipped. He gets all the Divyastras. And his brother Bhima goes and gets the blessings of Mahavira Hanuman. Hanuman says, I'll be on the chariot of Arjuna, blessing him with strength. Just 2 days before the war, Durga Puja is done in the Kurukshetra. Mother Durga comes and blesses Arjuna. And that is how Vijayadashami is celebrated. And at that given critical moment, what happens? Visrijya sasharam chapam shokasam vignamanasa. Throwing away all the bow and arrow. This commander, hero called Arjuna, is sitting with a hand on his head. It's a very bad body language. I keep telling my students in Hyderabad, never ever keep your hand on your head while you study. It is a sin on Mother Saraswati. You are doing Seva Aparatham. Your physics, chemistry, botany will go into Ganga. You keep your hand on your head when somebody dies in the house. And you read pure science, pure mathematics with a hand on your head. So weak you are. Shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Arjuna had everything in his hand. But at that critical moment, what happened? He lost his confidence. Horripilation. Seeing omens, seeing bad things. What will happen to the society? All sorts of dialogue. And no value, worthless. And Krishna just smiles at him and says, what has happened to you, Arjuna? At this critical moment, kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam. At a land of the Buddhas, land of the Vivekanandas, land of the Krishnas, land of the Acharyas, land of Ramakrishna, land of Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar, I find hell over heaven. 2022, India had a very bad news, apart from the Chandrayans and the Mangalayans and the Adithyas. I am sad to say, 14,000 youngsters committed suicide in Bharatadesha. So weak we are. 14,000 families affected for what? They have committed suicide. Can India afford that much of youth bankruptcy? Don't we have that remedies for the problem? Swami Vivekananda cries with his hand out and says, young men, where are you of Kolkata? Young men of Madras, where are you? Young men of Lahore, where are you? What has happened to you? Arjuna is not just Arjuna. Thousands of years ago, historical figure. You are Arjuna. I am Arjuna. Your father is Arjuna. The Prime Minister is Arjuna. But we should have that plus called Atma Balam. Nayamatma balahinena labhyaha Kathopanishad. This Atman is not for weak people. Heavens will throw you out. Stand up, O man. In the Alipur jail, when all these revolutionaries were declared hanged to death, one of the revolutionaries, he refused to take even a drop of water. They weighed the body of that person, of that revolutionary, say he's about 65 kilos on the day the judge has declared that he will be hanged to death. What did that revolutionary do? He did not cry, he did not worry, he did not go into depression. He started reading the Gnana Yoga lectures of Vivekananda loudly. For 15 days he read and read and read loudly so that all the other prisoners also would listen. In the jail, in the Alipur jail. This is historical fact. And on the 15th day, when the doctor comes to verify his BP and weight, etc., to the shock and surprise of the medical fraternity, his weight has increased by 3 kilos. They had to change the rope. Only by reading Swamiji's Gnana Yoga, his body language changed, body weight changed. He got inspiration. He said, off with everybody. That is a mala given by Bharata Mata. The rope is a garland on my neck. I will not allow anybody to touch it. I will put it on my head. Keeping Vivekananda in the hand, they died. They sacrificed for the country. It was not just an ordinary freedom moment. Swamiji had entered his spirit into the young revolutionaries of Bengal. Hemachandra Ghosh says very beautifully in Dhaka in 1978, the very memory of Swami Vivekananda gives me strength. He met Vivekananda when he was 1901 in Dhaka. And in 1978, after 77 years, Hemachandra Ghosh says, the very memory of Vivekananda gives me strength and solace in the evening of my life. Do we Indians even now realize what an outstanding great lion among men had been born and lived in our midst in the person of Swamiji? I read again. Do we Indians even now realize what an outstanding great lion among men had been born and lived in our midst in the person of Swami Vivekananda? The very words, the very thought of Swamiji would give them strength because he is Atman personified. This is our responsibility. Seminars may come, seminars will go. But the Atman remains. The one remains, everything come and pass. We forget the one and run behind the many. As a result, when the many is lost, we go into depression, suicides, drug addictions, malpractices, forgetting the Atman, forgetting the core being inside. As he asked in the Chicago on 19 September, when I close my eyes and stand on this platform and say, I 10 times, what is the idea before me? Who am I? Is man a tiny boat in a tempest, drawn into the yawning chasm one moment, thrown over the high billows, a wreck in nature? Is that all? Is that all your personality? 5 feet, 6 feet, 50 kilo, 60 kilo, man, woman, east, west, north, south. This is only a social ID card, an Aadhaar card. But there is something else. The Vedas refuse to accept that you are a tiny body-mind complex. You are a spirit living in the body. Thundering at that time, speaking about spirit, speaking about Atman, speaking about Vedanta. In America, naturally, people got doubt and said, hey, Swami, you are hypnotizing us. Daredevils they were. They could straight point out Vivekananda, you are hypnotizing us, aren't you? Straight comes the bullet answer of Swami Vivekananda, I am dehypnotizing you, I am not hypnotizing you. The very fact you are weak and sorrow and lean and thin is hypnotism. Dehypnotize yourself, my young men. This is the power which Swami Vivekananda manifested, and the Atman is locked up inside in this lust and gold and greed. Petty objects can disturb a man. Whenever there is a drug addiction case or a scam or this and that, it worries us. How do we take this message to the common man, the street man, the auto rickshaw wala? To tell him that you are the Atman. That is what Swamiji said. If the student thinks he is the spirit, he'll become a better student. If the lawyer thinks he is the spirit, he'll become a better lawyer. If a cobbler thinks he is the spirit, he'll become a better cobbler. That is what is happening. How many of you heard of that silent revolutionary in Maharashtra by name Panduranga Shastri Atwale? He is called the silent reformer in Maharashtra. He is called Dada. His organization is called Sahaya Parivar. Do you know how many members are there in that organization? More than 15 lakh fishermen and women. He took the message of the Bhagavad Gita. He took the message of Vedanta into the fishermen colony Machwaras in Maharashtra. From Bombay to Saurashtra. He transformed their lives by telling Swamiji's quotation, a fisherman will become a better fisherman if he thinks he is the spirit. Today you go to Machwaras area in Maharashtra, very, very clean than anything else. They wear white dress. We have a branch of theirs in Hyderabad. That man has gone. Panduranga Shastri is no more. He is a guru for the fisherman community. He was an orthodox, most superstitious Brahmin community. His grandfather was so superstitious and so orthodox. If a Dalit, if a sweeper in the street is going across the house and the shadow of the sweeper falls on his house, this man used to clean the house. So narrow it was in Maharashtra at the time. Coming from that family, this Panduranga Shastri Atwale goes and stays in the fisherman community of Maharashtra and changes the life. We asked the disciples of Panduranga Shastri Atwale to give them videos of his lectures. Today, you go to Saurashtra and other places in the Arabian Sea coast, 10,000 people will be watching that videos. He is not there, but his videos recordings are there in Marathi. And they say, no, Swami, it is not for commercial use or just for listening. There is a ritual, there is a sadhana, there is a dhyana. You have to take a vrata, then only we will display it for you. This is our Dada's advice. So clean, no police case, no murders, no corruption. Then I remembered what Swamiji said, a fisherman will become a better fisherman if he thinks he is the spirit. And this is happening in our country. Glorious incidents are there. At the end of the time, I just read out what Swamiji wanted. Since this is the end of the regular academic sessions and we'll go into the academic sessions, he says here, the infinite power of the spirit, that is the Atman. The infinite power of the spirit brought to bear upon matter evolves material development. That's what you are seeing outside. Matter, matter, matter. Come on, do it. Let it be artificial intelligence, let it be any other intelligence. Matter is being developed. Machines are being developed. But the infinite power made to act upon thought evolves intellectuality, creativity. Welcome. But the third most important thing is, made to act upon itself makes of man a god. Let the lion of Vedanta roar, the foxes will fly to their holes. Throw the ideas broadcast. Let the result take care of itself. Let us put the chemicals together. That is the purpose of this seminar. Bringing the different forces, different people, different thoughts, different topics. Bring the chemicals together. The crystallization will take its own course. So this is the churning that has to go on to bring out that strength of the Atman out. And that is our balam. Other things will come, other things will go, and we will get the power to resist. Today, a question among youth, question among students is existence. Existential problem. How to live, what to live, where to go. Too many things in the market, confusing. But keep the torchlight of the Atman inside out, and you will feel everything becomes light at the end of the day. So work on this, listen to that you are the Atman. Yad bhavam tad bhavati, as you think you will become. I am the Atman, I am strong, never say no, never say cannot, for you are infinite, Swamiji says. And as you go, you cut across one by one the koshas. Go back to the Taittiriya Upanishad and you find beyond this body, what is there? Energy, prana. And how to use this prana and body? Manas, the thoughts. How do the thoughts, good or bad? Discrimination, buddhi. Beyond that is anandam, and beyond that is chidananda rupa shivoham, shivoham. Shankaracharya in his Bhajagovinda Stotram, he writes beautifully in the 11th or 12th shloka. I'll just read that out for you, my dear friends. He says, Ma kuru dhanajana yavvana garvam harati nimeshat kalas sarvam maya mayamidham akilam buddhva brahmapadam tvam pravisha viditva. Give up this ego. Ma kuru, do not do that. Boast not of youth or friends or wealth. Swifter than eyes can wink by time. Harati nimeshat. In a second everything can go. One tsunami, one bomb, one earthquake, whole thing will go. What we are doing now. Harati nimeshat kalas sarvam. Maya mayamidam akhilam buddha. Try to understand that this illusoriness is only a shadow of life. And what is the truth? Brahmapadam tvam pravisha viditva. Join yourself to timeless truth. Now what are you? You are the infinite Atman, which again and again has been referred to from yesterday evening, from Atma Priyanji's talk. Till now we have been thinking of the Atman and Atman. Too much also is not good. We have to digest it first. You may have 10 chapatis, but you should do exercise to digest the chapatis. Otherwise, care of Apollo Hospital. So let us work on it. Let us implement it and make Swamiji our guidepost, our margadarshak, our lighthouse. And Swamiji will definitely be there when we need him. He said, wherever people want, I am there to make a great nation and to take them towards realization. Jai Ramakrishna.
Thank you very much, Swamiji, for a vibrant, wonderful speech. The Swamiji's thoughts with Desha Bhakti, Guru Bhakti and Shastra Bhakti, and particularly Atma Bala. So Swamiji took all these points in a very inspirational way. Thank you very much. So with this, we conclude this session, Swamiji's concept on the divinity in man. So, thank you all. Harihi Om.